Welcome to Grid Tonight. My name is Joe Samaniego. Today is Thursday, April 16th. We start with the very serious topic of the fallout from Kyle Larson's comments made Sunday during the Monza Madness race. Since then, Kyle Larson lost his job with Chip Ganassi Racing and multiple sponsors. While his 2020 Cup season will likely not continue, there is still a chance to rebuild and earn a second opportunity to race in the Cup Series. This all started Sunday evening when Kyle Larson was participating in an iRacing event when he said a racial slur. For the remainder of Sunday, no comment was made by Kyle Larson, Chip Ganassi Racing, NASCAR, or any sponsors. The audio-video clip did circulate around social media till late in the evening, which mainly explained why there was no comment made. Monday was a different story when NASCAR released a statement that it was investigating the issue. Shortly later, Chip Ganassi Racing announced Kyle Larson was suspended without pay while it was working with the situation concerning all the appropriate parties. This is significant because Chip Ganassi Racing employs Kyle Larson and holds many sponsorship deals with the team and Kyle. Without sponsors, any driver will be out of a ride, and this was an effort for Chip Ganassi Racing to salvage agreements with sponsors involved with the team and Kyle Larson. NASCAR released a second statement that Kyle Larson had been suspended indefinitely as he violated Section 12.1 General Procedures and 12.8 NASCAR Member Conduct Guidelines. Larson must also attend sensitivity training as directed by NASCAR. Following the two suspensions, Kyle Larson posted a video apologizing for the racial slur and taking full responsibility for his action. No explanation was given as to why he used the word, but acknowledged his wrongdoing and was sorry for using the word. Then followed the news of the sponsor suspending or terminating his relationship with Kyle Larson. The three most notable were Chevrolet, Credit One, and McDonald's. Both Chevrolet and Credit One issued statements denouncing the comments, later announcing termination of their sponsorship with Kyle Larson. McDonald's issued a statement that will no longer sponsor Kyle Larson, but was sticking with Chip Ganassi Racing. While more sponsors terminated or suspended relations with Kyle, it appeared Chip Ganassi Racing was still having sponsors for the 42 car for the next driver. Prior to Sunday's incident, Kyle Larson had a good relationship with fans, sponsors, and had a very positive reputation as a friendly and approachable guy. This was added to the shock felt across the racing industry as Kyle is a graduate of the Drive for Diversity program and a rising star in NASCAR. Only at the age of 27, some considered him a possible replacement for Jimmy Johnson. This was Kyle Larson's last season with Chip Ganassi Racing as the contract was ended. That all changed Tuesday morning. Chip Ganassi Racing announced Tuesday morning that after careful consideration, it had ended its relationship with Kyle Larson. The statement also said, as we continue to evaluate the situation with all relative parties, it became obvious this was the only appropriate course of action to take. Chip Ganassi Racing is a large entity with teams in IndyCar and NASCAR and a diverse group of drivers. This includes greats such as Jimmy Vassars, Alex Zanardi, Juan Montoya, Sterling Marlin, and Scott Dixon, to name a few. While Kyle Larson did bring 6 wins during his tenure with Chip Ganassi Racing, he's still one employee of a large company, and his action brought nothing but loss of time, money, and resources to Chip Ganassi Racing. All during a period where all the teams are on shaky financial grounds with the current halt in racing. With his firing, Kyle Larson can still attend the sensitivity training ordered by NASCAR and ask for his suspension to be lifted. So there is still the opportunity to race in the Cup Series or any NASCAR National Series again. The only similar case that sets some precedents is Xfinity driver Jeremy Clements, who used the same racial slur to a reporter off camera in 2013. He was suspended indefinitely and returned after completing the sensitivity training. Recently, he won at Road America in the Xfinity Series. While similar, there are still many differences, mainly in the public nature of Kyle's incident, his relationship with Chip Ganassi Racing, and their presence in the Cup Series, which has some of the biggest sponsors out there today. In his 7 full seasons in Cup Series, Kyle Larson has 6 wins, 56 top 5s, and 101 top 10s. He has 1 top 5, 3 top 10 finishes in the 4 races so far this season. Saturday, the stars of IndyCar Plus Australian supercar racer Scott McLaughlin and NASCAR racer Dale Earnhardt Jr. participated in the Chevrolet 275 race at Michigan Speedway on iRacing. The grid had been posting throwback races leading up to the event, mainly skipping the 1996 US 500, which has the notorious pre-start crash. It was skipped since it was not the traditional 11th or 12th round of the season. Ironically, the iRacing event had the same start as a bunch of cars were involved in a crash prior to the start of the race. Once the race got going, it turned into a typical Michigan race, coming down to fuel mileage. Simon Pagenaud won the race, but the battle was for second place between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Scott McLaughlin. Scott took second and Dale Jr. took third. Worth noting, Scott McLaughlin currently leads the grid ranking and World Motorsports League. Dorna Sports announced the option of running 2 races on one weekend will not be considered to meet the minimum number of races for MotoGP to crown a world champion. The FIM has declined to release a new calendar as the situation is still ever-changing. The next MotoGP race is still scheduled for June 21st in Germany. The French Grand Prix became the latest event to be likely postponed after the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, announced no public gathering till mid-July. This is a huge blow to Formula One, especially since the season hasn't started. There was hope of a European events to take place first, and Paul Ricard having multiple track layouts hosting more than one event. If postponed, it will be the 10th race of the season to be postponed for Formula One. The next event that will occur afterwards will be the Austrian Grand Prix on July 5th. We are less than 25 days away from the next scheduled NASCAR race at Martinsville. NASCAR still hasn't announced any plans for the Martinsville race, whether it will be run without a crowd or postponed. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. You can follow us at Grid Rating and Grid_WML. Also, be sure to follow our friends at Roll Racing Media as they host Below the Yellow Line every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, 3 Alaska time. A friendly reminder, you could go to gridranking.com to see when the next race for each series will take place, as well as the history of the Grid Ranking and World Motorsports League. The Kyle Larson incident is a reminder of the key responsibility race car drivers inherit with their role as a professional athlete and public figure. While a race car driver is not an elected official who is criticized or praised for policymaking, a race car driver is a professional athlete, and fans look up to them and their actions. Their actions influence fans and businesses, especially for their sponsors. This is a crucial responsibility in their work. Anytime a race car driver is out in public, he or she is recognized by fans and can influence fans with their actions intentionally or unintentionally. They still have sponsorship commitments they must be mindful of when in the public. Kyle Larson's actions not only shattered his image, but betrayed the trust placed in him and hurt many fans who did nothing wrong. His statement really hurt a segment of fans that have heard that word used against them and their families in a hateful manner. His actions may drive some fans away from NASCAR. Kyle Larson brought nothing but negative attention to NASCAR, his employer Chip Ganassi Racing, and his sponsors. Kyle Larson did apologize for his comments, saying it's not reflective of his character nor his views, which raised the question, why did he say it in the first place? At the end, the responsibility falls on him, the race car driver, and he must live with the consequences of his actions, which includes losing his position as a race car driver. His actions are detrimental to a sport struggling before the global halt in racing activities. His actions didn't help NASCAR, didn't help any team's effort in recruiting sponsors, and has no place in the racing industry. This warrants the loss of his opportunity to be a race car driver, especially in a fiercely competitive industry that is auto racing. The race car driver is more than racing a car once a week. Responsibility to bring fans, attract sponsors, and represent the sport in a professional manner. This responsibility is required on and off the track, whenever in the public eye. Anytime hateful language is used by a member of the racing community, it tarnishes the reputation of auto racing, and what he did was inexcusably wrong. There's no place for such behavior, and no one's to blame except Kyle Larson. In time, a second chance will arise for Kyle Larson. He may never fully earn the trust and respect from everyone, but that's a journey he must now go on to rebuild his career. Only the best earn the opportunity to be a race car driver. Kyle lost it for now, but with hard work, he may earn the opportunity again. My name is Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching. We will leave you with a quote from Sir Starling Moss, who passed away this past weekend. Till next time.